We have veterinarian Dr. Charles Curie here this morning. I've been looking forward to meeting you, Doc. You have made a considerable investment in the community by bringing your practice here, and when will that open?
Well, we're going to open the Conneaut office, I'm going to say April, okay? And I'll be kind of generic about that, Pat, because I tend to move faster than I think everybody else moves. I would like to say we will be there April 1st, and I hope we will. But with the weather, it's kind of slowed up some of the construction and the demolition and all of the things that we need to do. But I can promise everybody it will be April, and it will be as early in April as possible. So what we will do is we will get an exact opening date out. We'll do it through your program, and we'll use radio and other media to get an exact opening day out. You know, we've developing a website. Again, I'm moving faster than other people. The website for the Country Doctor Veterinary Clinic has been up and running for years. The Geneva Veterinary Clinic up and running for years. And the Conneaut interface was supposed to be going by now, but it's not. But I think within the next 2 or 3 days. So the website address is countrydoctorvet.com. And that's country, D-R-V-E-T, countrydoctorvet.com. And what it'll do when people click into that, when our home page is ready, it'll say Country Doctor Veterinary Clinics with 3 convenient locations, and you can click on Geneva, Jefferson, Conneaut, and that will be your portal into your home website.
Gotcha. It was kind of funny because how we hooked up here actually was through State Representative John Patterson.
Yes.
And that was several months ago, and Doc and I had talked quite a while ago, and he was talking about coming to Conneaut, but there was not a place located that he was going to go, had it reserved to go to at that time. But it was funny, when I called him here a few weeks ago, just after he purchased the former Conneaut Savings Bank facility on building on at the West End, you were actually in the building doing remodeling already.
I was. Again, you know, my tendency is to move fast, and I was in there. We were doing some demolition and getting ready to get started on that building, and the location I love. You know, Pat, I have considered Conneaut as a location for another veterinary clinic for many years.
Really?
Yes, for many years. Oddly enough, you would think that it wouldn't be difficult to find a location that would be suitable.
Right.
But it was very difficult. Location, the 3 most important things when you're starting a business. And this Conneaut branch, I was driving by it one day. I drive through Conneaut all the time looking for locations and talk to realtors. And I went by and I saw the for sale sign on that, and I thought, that's it. That's it right there.
It's a nice building.
It is. Turned around, went back, wrote the number down, called Rick Firmich, and from there we just moved on it. Yep.
Now, you gave me some stats last time I talked to you about the locations of veterinarian services. Was it 13 miles?
You know, oddly enough, I do my homework, and I've done demographic studies on Conneaut and trying to determine the need for veterinary service here and whether or not there was enough business to sustain a veterinary clinic that I wanted to develop. And when you go to Google Maps and you look at the 3 closest veterinary clinics, they're all 13 miles away. One of them was 12.99, one of them was 13.1, and the next one was 13.2. So let's just call it all 13 miles.
13, yeah.
Yeah. And you know, Pat, typically people will seek a veterinarian within 5 miles of their home. So, you know, based on American Veterinary Medical Association demographic studies, predictably there is clientele here in the Conneaut area that will support our clinic.
Oh, I'm sure. I've had so many, you wouldn't believe how many good comments I've gotten, because we kind of touched on it when I said you were coming on a couple weeks ago and that you were going to be starting this, and you wouldn't believe the people that have called me or emailed me and said this is fantastic, because a lot of people have been having to go out of town. Days like today, it's hard to drive in this kind of stuff, so this is going to be very convenient. Do you have a special, how are you going to staff this now?
Well, we've hired a full-time doctor.
Really?
Yes, there's a full-time doctor that will be there from day one. Dr. Stephanie Gildersleeve. She is a local Ashtabula County lady.
Okay.
She's been practicing in Erie, Pennsylvania for the last, I don't know, 3 years or so. And she would like to be closer to home.
Okay.
So she will be full-time there. I've already hired 2 full-time staff members. They're in training at the Geneva Veterinary Clinic right now. And we're looking, we've closed in on probably 1, maybe 2 more staff members.
Really?
At first it will be 2 full-time staff members and 1 part-time staff member and a full-time veterinarian. And we're real excited about that. I'm real excited about the people that are involved. Stephanie, Dr. Stephanie is excited to be back in Ashtabula County. She's got a lot of really good ideas. Vanessa Dragon will be at the Conneaut facility. She's worked for me for years in Jefferson and Geneva. Very, very polite, pleasant, well-trained young lady.
Mm-hmm.
And we've hired some local Conneaut people too.
Really?
Absolutely. Rebecca is a Conneaut girl, and she will be with us there as a receptionist, and we're looking at some other Conneaut people as well. So we're trying to keep it as beneficial to Conneaut as possible.
Excellent. We appreciate that. Now, you come to a point now where you got 3 veterinary clinics going. Do you have you figured out, Doc, what hours you're going to use or do? Or
Yes, we have, and everything's subject to change. I'd like to make that clear, but when we initially open, the Conneaut facility is going to be a Monday through Friday facility, and that will be, we'll start answering the phone at 8 a.m., probably start seeing patients about 9 a.m., and we're looking at our last appointment on Monday at 6 p.m., Wednesday at 7 p.m., and then Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday will be a 5 p.m. close. And I've structured it this way, Pat, because if I extend those hours beyond that, or if I add Saturdays into there, I need a whole nother staff. I need another doctor, you know, because everybody needs and deserves, of course, a day off.
Right.
So just to get it up and running, that's what we're going to do. And then, like I said, subject to change, we'll do what the community needs.
I think it's kind of neat because you're giving the people out there that are working a chance to come after their work is done.
Right.
And I think that's important. We had an incident with our dog a couple months ago where it had some kind of spell, and it was on a Saturday night, and the closest we could get to a vet was, I think, Menor or someplace.
There's several emergency clinics available. Mentor on Tyler Boulevard is a Northeast Animal Emergency Clinic, and then Erie has one out by the Erie Zoo.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then down south by the Youngstown area, there's another animal emergency clinic. So it is inconvenient. You know, Pat, I've been at this almost 40 years now, and throughout, I'll say, probably 32 years of my career, we did after-hour emergencies. Sadly enough, I got old enough where I couldn't work all day, work all night, and work all day the next day again.
I understand that.
Very, very difficult. So we have to use the emergency clinics now, and they're well staffed, and they actually can provide a very high level of care. Albeit it's inconvenient for us who live out in these rural areas to have to make that 30 or 40 minute drive.
Right. Yeah, it's you know, as you know, obviously you have a pet. They're part of the family. You know,
they are.
It's like a kid. You know?
Absolutely, they are part of the family. They're not sort of like part of the family.
Right.
They are family members, and it's been fun for me. After 40 years of doing this, I've watched the transition. You know, when I started out, dogs were dogs and cats were cats, and yes, there was people who really involved themselves with them and considered them family members back then, but today everybody considers them family members.
Right.
Interesting thing is they'll do surveys now of grade school children and show them pictures of dog houses, and the kids don't know what they are.
Isn't that amazing?
That is amazing, and that's a blessing. You know, the dog isn't chained to the house out back anymore.
That's what they used to do.
Yeah, and that was the norm. It wasn't unacceptable at the time, but it was just the norm, what everybody did.
You know, Doc, in my day, and I'm not exaggerating this, in my day we had dogs and we had cats. My parents did, but you know, we didn't take them to the vet because back in those days you didn't get the shots that you're supposed to have now and all the things that you need to do to keep the dog healthy. We just had mutts that ran around the yard, and that's the way it was back
Well,
then.
and that is the way it was, and it wasn't just your family, it was everybody. It was that way, and dogs and cats were utilitarian. You know, the farm dog had a job, the farm cat had a job, the house cat had a job, and they did their job. When they couldn't do it anymore, you got a new cat.
Exactly.
Or you got a new dog. But that has changed, and veterinary medicine has changed with it. You know, for instance, one of the things that we do so much of now is veterinary dentistry. And veterinary dentistry is relatively new. It's last 20, 25 years. And I often have people say to me, well, gosh, you know, we never used to do that. And I say, well, I agree.
What does that consist of?
Well, veterinary dentistry, every time we do an examination, it's tip of the nose to the tip of the tail, and that includes looking in the mouth. And dogs and cats have a lot of dental disease. They have tartar, which our dentists call plaque, which is the brown staining on their teeth and the heavy buildup. They have gingivitis, which is an inflammation and swelling of the gums. Periodontal disease, which is a progression of the gingivitis down into the bone where the tooth root and the bone mend together with a ligament called the periodontal ligament. And an important part of keeping these pets healthy, happy, and giving them as long a lifespan as possible is taking care of their teeth.
I'll be darned.
You know, research has proven to us that pets with dental disease will live 2 years less than the breed average. 2 years.
Kidding.
Pat, that's huge.
Yeah.
If you're talking about a dog that would normally only live to be, say, 12 years old, and he loses 2 years of his lifespan, that's 20%.
Yeah.
That'd be like you and I losing 15 or 20 years of our life.
Yeah. Wow.
And the reason it is, it's not about pretty white teeth and fresh, kissable breath. That bacteria leaves the mouth, circulates in the bloodstream, settles on the heart valves, the liver, the kidneys, and has a profound impact.
Just like it does to a human.
Absolutely. Our dentists have been telling us that for 50, 60 years.
Yeah.
It should be no surprise, but it's new to people, but the clientele is very accepting because, like you said, they're family members. And everybody wants them to live as long as possible.
You know, my dog, she's a beagle, and Cheyenne's a great dog, very friendly, and but she's subject to ear infections. And I'll be darned, I can never get the medicine in her ear. My wife, as I left work today, Pat, you got to do it by yourself because she won't listen to me. So now I got to try to get it in her ear, but she does not want that in her ear.
Well, first of all, her ear is sore, so she doesn't want it in there. And nobody likes fluid in their ear.
Right.
When you take a shower and you get a little water in your ear, you're shaking your head trying to get it out because it drives you nuts.
Yeah.
So, you know, unfortunately, the way we treat these ears is with an ointment or a solution, and we put it in there so they don't like the fluid in their ear, and if their ear is sore, they don't want their ear handled.
Right.
So, you know, what we encourage people to do is just to take their time, be gentle with it, and we're very cautious on our selection of product. We don't want to use anything that's going to sting or burn.
Right.
I'm pretty aggressive. In fact, I'm very aggressive in treating ear infections. And often we'll start out with oral medications, some pills, to try to control the pain, control the inflammation, control the infection, and then I'll tell people, let's wait 4 or 5 days or a week, and then we'll start the topicals in the ear. Because, you know, choose your battles wisely. You know, once you start a battle with a dog or a cat, it's over. It gets more and more difficult as time goes on.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It really does. Now, one of the questions that we did get in specifically for him is from Dennis Turner, who asked about Lyme's disease. Doc, I know you've been involved with this with State Representative Patterson. How bad is it?
Pat, it's as bad can get, and I want everybody to really listen to this. Lyme disease is an epidemic in Ashtabula County. Ashtabula County is the Lyme hotspot in the state of Ohio, and Conneaut is the Lyme hotspot in Ashtabula County, period. We are seeing more and more and more. You know, I was born and raised in Ashtabula County. I'm a native of Jefferson. I've been practicing veterinary medicine here for almost 40 years now. We never even saw a tick until, I'm going to say, about 10 years ago. The first ticks that were coming into my clinic in Jefferson were coming in with pets from Conneaut. And it was a curiosity. I thought, well, okay, that's interesting, you know, maybe they were over in PA or whatever. But as time went on, the problem has just exploded. So we have ticks, and we have all species of ticks. We have what's known as the deer tick. The right name for that, or the correct name for that, is the black-legged tick. And that thing is the devil. That tick will spread Lyme disease, anaplasmosis, ehrlichiosis, Rocky Mountain spotted fever. It is a wicked, wicked little tick, and it's tiny, tiny. It's not the ticks that everybody sees in May, June, and July when ticks are real active. Those are the big brown ticks. They're called the American dog tick. Not really much of a problem. They creep everybody out. They're ugly, and they have 8 legs, and anything with 8 legs seems to scare people.
Right.
But they're not a big disease transmitter like the black-legged tick. The black-legged tick, full grown, fully engorged, fully full of blood, is at the largest the size of a sesame seed.
Really?
Yes. And the immature forms of that are so small that even on our fair skin, you'll have a hard time finding them attached to your body. And if you have a dog or a cat that has one of those ticks on there, chances of you finding it are very, very small.
Really?
Yes.
I had no idea that it was that rampant here.
It is. There's a organization called the Companion Animal Parasite Council. It's an acronym CAPC, C-A-P-C, Companion Animal Parasite Council. You can go online, you can look this up, just Google CAPC, capital C, capital A, capital P, capital C. And that will give you the incidence of Lyme disease in the entire United States, state by state, county by county. Look us up. Look up Ashtabula County. We have a very high incidence of Lyme disease here.
Wow.
In 2013, I get a monthly email from CAPC that updates me on the incidence of Lyme. At the end of 2013, my last email said 1 in 24 dogs was testing positive for Lyme disease in Ashtabula County.
Oh my God.
How do they come up with those statistics? Those aren't numbers that I make up. They aren't numbers from my veterinary clinics only. They are numbers that are gathered by surveying the 2 largest diagnostic labs, veterinary diagnostic labs in the nation. So in other words, when we are testing animals, we'll do a test for, say, heartworm and Lyme disease, and, well, let's just call it tick-borne diseases. So heartworm and tick-borne diseases is a blood test, and we send that out to these labs, and they run the test, and then once a month, this Companion Animal Parasite Council updates the positives, county by county, state by state, all across the nation. So at the end of 2013, I get this last email that says the incidence was 1 in 24 dogs. That's huge.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of 2014, it was 1 in 30 something. I don't remember the exact number, maybe 1 in 34. So it looks like it's getting better, but it's not, Pat. My 2 veterinary clinics, the Country Doctor Veterinary Clinic in Jefferson and the Geneva Veterinary Clinic, send an enormous amount of samples to these labs.
Mm-hmm.
I mandated 2 or 3 years ago that all dogs in my practice be vaccinated for Lyme disease. The problem's here. It's very, very real. It's very, very dangerous. And there's an extremely good vaccine available. So why not use it?
See, I did not know that there was a vaccine for this.
And many people don't know, and that's sad. That's sad that my profession has not educated people about Lyme disease or the availability of the vaccine. And the vaccine's a good one. It's not a perfect vaccine. I don't think there's any such thing as a perfect vaccine. But the Lyme vaccine is 85% effective. Pat, that means 85 out of 100 dogs are very well protected against Lyme disease if they receive the vaccine. 15, not so well protected. But that's good. That's better than nothing.
Does it stop them from getting the disease?
Yeah, the vaccine
in
will
85%?
keep them. Yeah, in the 85%. The ones that respond well to it are protected against Lyme disease.
What about, I think we're getting a call. We'll take that call. Call back. We'll take that immediately once you call back. Sorry, I was chatting here. What do you do, Doc, when you get a dog in there with the disease?
Well, when they test positive for Lyme disease, if they have symptoms, and the symptoms of Lyme disease in dogs very similar to the symptoms in people. Depression, lethargy, low-grade fever, swollen joints, painful, lameness, those things are pretty obvious, and if they're positive for Lyme, then we start them on an antibiotic regimen. They're immediately vaccinated if they have not been vaccinated. They're boosted with that vaccine in 3 weeks. They're started on a combination of antibiotics, and then they're reevaluated in.
Can they get rid of it?
Boy, that's $1 million question. You talk to a lot of veterinary researchers, and they're split. Some of the researchers in veterinary medicine say dogs can clear Lyme disease. Others say they can't clear it. In human medicine, the belief is that nobody can ever cure Lyme disease, that you will live with it the rest of your life. And I guess I have a tendency to believe that that's probably true in the dogs as well.
Sure.
We can minimize it, but I wouldn't ever think that we could totally eliminate it.
Good morning, you're on the air.
Good morning. I just like to welcome the doctor to Conneaut. That is a nice location because that's not too far from me. But
Well,
I live
thank
on a
you.
lake. I've got a couple questions. Back in January, I had what I thought was a little kitty, beautiful tabby cat, kept showing up at my house, and she was about frozen to death, and I've taken her in. Well, she's made residence with me and my boys. I didn't know if it was a boy or a girl, but I took her up to get fixed up at the mobile one, and the cat was already fixed, but I need to know, like, should I bring her over and have a physical? She had a rabies shot like a month ago, and I took her up to Pet Fix. I don't know what I should do with her, like shots or...
Oh, yes, if you're going to keep this kitty and
I'm
make
going
her...
to.
Well, she's a part of your family now, obviously, so...
Yes, she is.
And I can tell that you love her and concerned about her. So, yes,
Yes.
bring her in. We'll do a physical examination, and then we will recommend the appropriate vaccines for her. She's already had a rabies, so she does not need another one this year. But there are other diseases that are very prevalent in cats. The feline distemper and feline leukemia virus are things that we really need to protect these kitties against. We'll do a test to make sure that she's not carrying these viruses first, and then we'll go ahead and vaccinate her. And if you do these just basic preventative things, it goes a long ways in keeping a happy, healthy pet for a very, very long time.
Yeah, we like her very well. She's my daughter.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
She likes to cuddle.
They
She likes
cuddle.
to sit down, and my boys are 17 and almost 20, and the older one, she'll sit down and she'll get right up on his chest, and she'll wrap her paws around his neck and just cuddle.
Well, I think she's found a permanent home forever.
Yeah.
Yep, she has. But yeah, she was. Like I said, we thought she was a real little kitty, but they said that she's probably close to 2 years from up there. You know, the mobile unit we took her to get
Right.
saved. But
Right.
when they shaved, they shaved her, and that's when they found out there was a scar there.
Yep.
But she's had been roaming in my neighborhood for several months, and it's like I'm a midnight worker, and she knew when I would leave and when my kid would go to work or school or whatever, and she would come up on that top step to my porch. Well, I started feeding her chicken, and this was like prime rib to her. So she took a liking to us, just like we like her. But
Well, it
you
sounds-
said you were hoping to be open. I
We'll
live
be-
on the lake, but it's just like a mile from there, so just.
We'll be open in April for sure, and
Okay, are
check
you
in
giving
on
out
our
a phone
website.
number today for Conneaut, or just do the website?
Just check the website for now. I do have the phone numbers assigned, but I don't want people to start calling because we don't even
Right.
have a telephone yet.
Oh, okay.
So if
Okay,
you check the
well,
website, we will keep
that's
that
an ideal
updated.
place. That's a nice location,
Well, I look forward to meeting you and your new kitty. Thank you
Okay.
for
Okay,
calling
thank
in.
you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Brandon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I have a cat that was abandoned. I do rescue animals. And this kitten was about this big. He actually was on the show. I got to meet him. Some lady brought him in. I got to meet him, and she had to get rid of him because she had asthma. So I adopted this kitten. This cat, now 2 years old, is the meanest cat I've ever seen in my life. He's got a bad attitude. I don't know if I call him the Hood. He's just like a hood, you know.
Well, they're just like us, Pat. They have their personalities, and the personalities are all over the spectrum.
Yes, yeah, I can see that with this one.
In the Jefferson Clinic, I have stenciling on the wall in the waiting room, and it says, dogs have owners and cats have staff. And so many people with cats can identify to that they are their cat's
Absolutely.
staff. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Good morning, you're on the air.
Hey, good morning. I have a question for the doctor. Is
Sure.
there a specific habitat that you need to be aware of for the ticks? And I'll hang up and listen.
Okay.
All right, thank you for your call, and that's a great question. And the answer is everywhere is tick habitat, and I mean that very, very seriously. You know, people often associate it with out in the woods or brushy areas or fields, and that's certainly not correct. We are seeing ticks come in on pets that have never left the village of Jefferson, never left the city of Conneaut, never left the city of Madison. They're strictly in their home yards. And that makes sense if you really stop and think about it. How did the ticks get there? Ticks attach to all animals. Mice, chipmunks, squirrels, birds, everything can carry ticks from place to place. In fact, that's how we got ticks in Ashtabula County. As I mentioned a few minutes ago, I'm a native of Ashtabula County. I've practiced veterinary medicine here for 40 years. Never saw ticks until about 10 years ago. Where did they come? You know, well, they didn't come in on the Greyhound bus. They came in with animals. And their primary method of moving around is by attaching to an animal, going wherever that animal goes, and once they're full of blood, they've had their blood meal, they drop off, they burrow into the ground, they lay their eggs, and the whole life cycle starts over.
Are they out there now in this weather?
Great question, Pat. Yes, they are out there now. Ticks are crazy little creatures. They have an antifreeze in their body. So you can find active ticks on any day at any temperature.
Okay.
Now, they're buried under the snow because they stay low on the ground, so there's no way you're going to get exposed when you're walking on top of the snow. But if there's a bare patch of ground, like underneath a pine tree or something like that, or now we're going to start to have this thaw, as soon as those spots start to thaw, there's active ticks on those spots.
Really?
Dr. Glenn Needham from Ohio State University Extension is the tick guru in all of North America. And he can come to Conneaut. He's got his favorite places here in the Conneaut area. And he'll come and he does what's called flagging, which is simply dragging a white cloth across the ground. And the ticks will attach to that cloth as he drags it, and then he can do tick counts and tick investigations. And Glenn will tell us that any time of the year he can go to these spots, and if that's not covered by snow, he will find ticks. The black-legged tick, the deer tick. Yeah.
When somebody gets, like I had a neighbor that had a tick on his arm, he lives by the woods, and he had a tick on his arm, and he got rid of it. I guess there's a way to do that without letting it, part of it stay in your skin. But should you go to a doctor?
You know, I don't think you need to go to a doctor every time you find a tick. But you should save that tick.
Oh.
And you said you think there's a way to pull it out, and there is. And it's just simply, you want to grasp that tick as close to the head as you can, and the head will be buried into the skin, into your skin or into your pet's skin. And it's good to take a pair of tweezers and get close to that head and just apply a steady traction out, and just don't jerk it, just steady traction, and eventually that tick's mouthpiece will release and the cement around the mouthpiece will break and you'll remove the tick. That's another thing that's crazy about ticks. They have an anesthetic in their mouth, so when they bite, you never know that you got bitten.
Really?
Because they'll inject that anesthetic and they'll bite, bury their head into your skin so they can feed on blood, and then they seal it with a cement so that they're attached and they won't be washed off by water or drug off by grooming of animals and things like that.
Holy mackerel.
They're crazy. Ticks, they're amazing creatures. but they're also amazing in a way that is a little bit evil and scary. Lyme disease is a big deal, you know, and I really want to stress the importance for the Lyme prevention. There's two pieces of Lyme prevention. Vaccine is a centerpiece of Lyme prevention, and the only species that has an approved vaccine is dogs. There is no other vaccine for any other species. The other half of Lyme prevention is tick control. Tick control comes in the form of a topical that is put on the pet's back, or an oral for dogs now. There's a really good oral flea and tick product available, and you have to use it. You absolutely have to use these products. And I just explained that there's ticks active outside today in the winter on a bare patch of ground. So let's do a little myth busting. There is no such thing as a tick season. There's no such thing as a flea season. Tick season and flea season is year-round. Ticks are active year-round no matter what the temperature.
Even fleas.
Well, sure, because what do? When winter gets here, we turn the heat on in our house, and our pets live in our house with us, and the fleas continue to live in the house. They're happy to live with us. So, you know, when dogs were chained to the doghouse 40, 50 years ago, there was a flea season.
Right.
But now there is no flea season because we all live
So I still
together.
should be putting this stuff on my dog.
Yeah, you really should.
Oh,
Yeah,
Lord.
you really
I
should.
gave it up in November when it snowed. Hi, you're on the air.
Good morning.
Hi.
Good morning.
Welcome to Conneaut, sir.
Thank you.
And I'd like to know, now when this weather breaks, is there anything that we could put on our grass that might help kill these
Good
or
question.
to prevent it? Is bad? I'll hang up and listen.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you for calling in, and that is an excellent question. I get that question quite often. And the answer is yes. There are a few products available that you can use as a premises spray. And what they do is they will kill the ticks. They're called arachicides. Arachnid is an insect that has 8 legs, like a spider. And ticks are arachnids. They have 8 legs. So there are these arachicides that can be applied as premises sprays, lawn and garden sprays. And I can't tell you firsthand how effective they are. I have discussed this with Dr. Glenn Needham, the tick guru from Ohio State, and he said that they have some effectiveness, but that's all he would really comment on it. He didn't act like it was a product that was going to make you entirely safe. It's one more tool. Let's look at it that way. So what are the tools in the toolbox? Once again, I want to emphasize the importance of vaccine for dogs, the importance of a flea and tick product for all pets, and then if you want to add in one more step would be the arachicide for your yard areas.
Excellent question.
That is a very good question. Thank
Yeah.
you for calling.
All right, we've done 40 minutes here this morning. I think this has been great. Great information. Of course, we're going to follow up with Doc. And, you know, one of the main requests I have had over the last 7 years on this show is, why don't you ever have a veterinarian on? I've had 1 or 2 on. A lady from down south someplace came on and did a nice job. But people really want to talk about their animals.
Oh, they do.
And they want to learn
Animals
more.
are fun.
And I learned a lot today, so I appreciate you coming in, Doc. Certainly want to wish you well. And would you please stay in touch with me
Oh, definitely.
to let me know when you're, because I have to get my dog in.
Yeah, I'll stay in touch. I'll let you know as we firm up an opening date. I'll let you know when we release the phone
Okay.
numbers and so forth. And this has been great. I enjoy sharing this information. I have a passion for it.
Well, I can tell.
So anytime you want to get together, I would love it.
Excellent. We'll take this last phone call real quick before we let the doc go. Hi, you're on the air.
Good morning. I had another question. Will you be doing flea dipping there?
No, flea dipping is a thing of the past. Flea dipping is, we used to do it 30 years ago, but there's so many good flea and tick products available that you just put on your pet once a month. Very safe, very effective. No need to go through those dips anymore.
Okay, that was something else. Will you be selling like flea collars and some products there too
Yes.
that will help out?
Yes, we will.
Boy, I'll have just one stop then, won't I?
There you
That's
go.
right.
All right. Thanks, Brenda.
Thank
We're
you.
talking about all these different things, but yeah, I'll get my things there. Okay, thank you.
Thanks,
Bye.
Brenda.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
All right, Doc. Thank you so much for coming in. This was great.
It's been fun, Pat. Thank
Yeah, it
you.
was fun.
I appreciate the opportunity to.
Well, I'd like to have you back. I really would. I think that this is what I mean. A lot of phone calls, emails from people want to know about their animals. Like you said, they're part of the family.
Well, let's do it again.
Okay, we will.
All right. Thank you.